Captain Lee Hyun stood in the giant hall on Nexus Prime. The walls were made of crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. Around him sat hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy. Some looked like giant insects with hard shells. Others floated in the air like balls of light. Many had shapes that Hyun could not even describe. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in known space. Every important species had a voice here. Every important species except humans. Kim Sola walked beside Hyun. She had worked for months to get this meeting. As Earth's top diplomat, she knew how hard it was to make the aliens listen. Humans were new to space travel. Most alien races had been flying between stars for thousands of years. Remember, Sola whispered to Hyun, they think we are children. We must stay calm. Behind them walked Yoon Dae-ho, Earth's military expert. He carried data files about humanity's new weapons. His face showed worry. The aliens would not want to hear what they had to say. At the back of the group, Park Mina tried to stay quiet. She was young, only 25 years old, but she had helped build the weapons they were here to talk about. Her hands shook slightly as she held her datapad. The council hall fell silent as a tall alien stood up. This was Speaker Vexmon, the council's leader. His skin looked like polished metal, and his voice sounded like music when he spoke. The humans may speak, Vexmon announced, though we wonder what a young race could tell the wise species of the galaxy. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Hyun felt his jaw tighten, but he stepped forward. Thank you, Speaker Vexmon, Hyun said. We come with an important warning. Humanity has developed new weapons. We call them Railguns. They are more dangerous than anything the galaxy has seen. A large alien with 4 arms and bright red skin stood up quickly. This was War Commander Thexval of the Vorthak Empire. His species had been warriors for over 2,000 years. Weapons? Thexval's voice was like grinding stone. Your people barely understand fusion power. What could you possibly create that would worry us? Hyun activated his hologram projector. A 3-dimensional image appeared in the center of the hall. It showed a long, smooth weapon that looked almost simple compared to the aliens' complex energy guns. This is a railgun, Hyun explained. It uses magnetic fields to shoot solid objects at incredible speeds. Our tests show these projectiles can travel at 3% of light speed. The hall erupted in noise. Aliens clicked, buzzed, and made sounds in languages humans did not know. Most of them seemed to be laughing. A floating ball of light drifted closer to the hologram. This was a Lumina, a species made of pure energy. When it spoke, the words appeared in everyone's minds. Kinetic weapons are primitive, the Lumina said. Our plasma lances can destroy entire ships. Our energy shields stop all attacks. Why should we fear your simple metal slugs? Yoon Dae-ho stepped forward. He had prepared for this reaction. Because your shields are designed to stop energy weapons, he said. They cannot stop physical objects moving at relativistic speeds. He activated his own projector. Numbers and charts filled the air above them. The data showed the incredible power that came from mass moving at near light speed. A small piece of metal moving at this speed carries more energy than your largest bombs, Dae-ho explained. It can punch through any known armor or shield. War Commander Thexval made a sound like angry clicking. Impossible. Our shields have protected us for centuries. No kinetic weapon could break them. That is because no one has tried kinetic weapons at these speeds, Park Mina said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the young engineer. Her voice was quiet but firm. We have run computer simulations. We have tested on asteroids. The results are always the same. She pressed a button on her datapad. New images appeared showing the results of their tests. Massive rocks split apart like paper. Thick metal walls turned to vapor in seconds. The kinetic energy is just too great, Mina continued. At 3% light speed, even a small projectile becomes unstoppable. An alien that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branch-like arms. Even if this is true, it said in a voice like wind through leaves, such weapons would be worthless in space combat. How could you aim at moving targets across such distances? Hyun smiled grimly. We have solved that problem too. Our railgun systems use advanced computers and sensors. They can track and hit targets from very long range. Speaker Vexmon raised his metallic hand for silence. The hall slowly quieted down. These are interesting claims, Vexmon said, but claims are not proof. Have you tested these weapons against real ships? We have tested them against decommissioned human vessels, Hyun replied. The results were complete destruction. Human ships, Thexavel said with obvious disgust. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Of course your weak hulls would break. Kim Sola finally spoke up. As a diplomat, she knew when to be polite and when to be direct. We are not asking you to change your military plans, she said. We are simply sharing information. In our experience, kinetic weapons at these speeds are extremely dangerous. We thought the galaxy should know. The Lumina pulsed brighter. You expect us to fear weapons that throw rocks? Even very fast rocks? We expect you to consider the physics, Mina said, her voice growing stronger. Energy equals mass times velocity squared. At relativistic speeds, the energy becomes enormous. Several aliens made dismissive sounds. A creature that looked like a giant spider waved its front legs. The child races always think they have found something new, it said. Energy weapons are the future. Kinetic weapons are the past. Hyun looked around the hall. He could see that most of the aliens had already made up their minds. They would not listen to warnings from humans. We have shared our data with the Council archives, Hyun said. Anyone who wants to study our findings is welcome to do so. How generous, Thexval said mockingly. Perhaps we will look at your toys when we have time. Speaker Vexmon stood up again. The Council thanks the humans for their presentation. Your warning has been noted in our records. The way he said warning made it clear he did not take it seriously. As the session ended, aliens began to leave the hall. Most of them were talking and laughing among themselves. Hyun could hear fragments of conversation about primitive humans and their rock throwers. Kim Sola gathered her team together. They walked toward the exit in silence. Finally, Yoon Daeho spoke. They will not listen until it is too late, he said. We have done what we came to do, Hyun replied. We warned them. What happens next is their choice. Park Mina looked back at the nearly empty hall. I hope they never have to learn the hard way, she said quietly. But as they left Nexus Prime, all 4 humans had the same thought. The galaxy would learn about railguns soon enough. 3 months had passed since the meeting at Nexus Prime. The galaxy had returned to its normal ways, as if the human warning had never happened. On Kepler Station, one of the busiest trade hubs in known space, Choi Wook sat at a bar listening to alien merchants talk. He was supposed to be negotiating a deal for rare metals, but the conversation at the next table caught his attention. Did you hear about those humans? A trader with purple skin was saying to his partner. A creature that looked like a walking crystal. They think they invented some super weapon. The crystal being made a sound like breaking glass, which Choi Wook had learned meant laughter. Yes, I heard. They call them railguns or something. They shoot rocks very fast. Rocks! The purple alien laughed, as if the great civilizations of the galaxy would be stopped by rocks. Even very fast rocks. Choi Wook wanted to say something, but he kept quiet. His job was to buy metals for Earth's weapons program, not start arguments. Still, it bothered him to hear his people mocked. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the hegemony was preparing for war. The hegemony was an alliance of 6 powerful species. They had decided it was time to expand their territory. The outer rim worlds looked like easy targets. Supreme Admiral Zeftan stood in his command center on the war world of Korthak. Around him, hundreds of officers from different species worked on invasion plans. The hegemony had the largest fleet in the galaxy, over 3,000 warships. Status report, Zeftan commanded. His voice was amplified by machines, making it boom through the chamber. A Vorthak officer stepped forward. All battle groups are ready, Admiral. We have enough ships to take 50 systems in the first wave. Zeftan nodded his massive head. His species, the Drakmor, were known for their strategic minds. They had been planning this expansion for decades. What about resistance? Zeftan asked. Minimal, another officer replied. The Outer Rim species have weak fleets. The humans have maybe 200 ships total. Their technology is primitive. An intelligence officer approached with a data pad. Admiral, there are some reports about human weapons you might want to see. Zeftan barely glanced at the data. Let me guess. The humans claim to have wonder weapons that will stop our mighty fleet. They call them railguns, sir. The reports say, file it under primitive species delusions. Zeftan interrupted. Focus on real threats. The officer saluted and walked away. The datapad was filed in a computer system where it would be forgotten. Back on Earth, the situation was very different. In the orbital shipyards above the planet, thousands of workers were busy installing new weapons on every human ship. Kang Junho was in charge of the railgun production program. He had not slept well since the Nexus Prime meeting. Intelligence reports showed that the hegemony was preparing for war, and Earth was on their target list. How many ships are ready? Junho asked his assistant, a young woman named Li Yejin. 43 so far, she replied, checking her tablet. But we are working around the clock. Every ship that leaves the yard has at least 2 railgun turrets. Junho nodded, but he looked worried. 43 ships against the entire hegemony fleet. It is not enough. The defense platforms around Earth are almost finished, Yejin reminded him, and the lunar railgun batteries will be online next month. I hope it will be enough, Junho said quietly. In another part of Earth, Song Yuna was studying alien military tactics. As head of xenological studies, her job was to understand how alien species fought wars. What she found made her both hopeful and concerned. For thousands of years, galactic warfare had followed the same patterns. Fleets would meet in open space, exchange energy weapon fire, and fight until one side's shields failed. It is like a game with rules, Yuna explained to her research team. They line up their ships, charge their energy weapons, and fight in formation. They have done this for so long that they cannot imagine any other way. Her assistant, Dr. Park Jinsu, looked at the tactical displays. But what about surprise attacks? What about new strategies? They do not seem to use them, Yuna replied. Their warfare has become ritualized. They expect their enemies to fight the same way they do. This gave Yuna an idea. She picked up her communicator and called Admiral Kim Namjoon at Fleet Command. Admiral, I think I know why the aliens dismissed our railgun warning, she said when he answered. Go on, Kim replied. They cannot imagine warfare that breaks their traditional patterns. For them, weapons are supposed to be energy-based and visible. Battles are supposed to happen at medium range with formal tactics. Our railguns do not fit their mental model of how war works. Kim was quiet for a moment. Are you saying they literally cannot understand what we showed them? In a way, yes, Yuna said. It is like showing a new color to someone who was born blind. They have no framework to process the information. On the Vorthak homeworld, War Commander Thexval was preparing his battle group. His ships were loaded with the finest plasma lance weapons in the galaxy. Each weapon could burn through a mountain in seconds. His aide, a younger Vorthak named Klextar, approached with a report. Commander, the intelligence division has flagged some data about human weapons, Klextar said carefully. Thexval made an annoyed clicking sound. Not this again. How many times must we hear about their super weapons? The physics calculations seem sound, Klextar persisted. If they really can accelerate projectiles to near light speed, then they would have the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, Thexval interrupted. Do you believe that a species that discovered fire yesterday has surpassed our 1,000-year-old technology? Klextar hesitated. When put that way, it did sound impossible. Besides, Thexval continued, even if their claims are true, kinetic weapons are crude. There is no honor in throwing rocks at your enemy. Plasma lances require skill, precision, timing. That is how real warriors fight. Back on Earth, Han Jinwoo was not sleeping either. As Earth's intelligence director, he had access to intercepted alien communications. What he saw kept him awake at night. The hegemony will move within 6 months, he told the Emergency Defense Council. Maybe sooner. They have already started positioning their fleets. General Nam Tae-hyung, Earth's top military officer, studied the star maps. How many systems will they attack first? At least 30, Jinwoo replied. Including our colonies at Tau Ceti and New Seoul. And Earth? Asked Minister Yoon Se-hun. Eventually, yes. Their plans show a 3-phase expansion. We are in phase 2. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity had perhaps a year to prepare before the full might of the hegemony fell on them. Our warnings were ignored, General Nam said finally. Now we must be ready to prove our point the hard way. In the deepest space, human scout ships watched hegemony movements. Captain O. Min-jae commanded one of these scouts. His ship, the Soul's Ghost, had been modified with the latest stealth technology. From his position in the asteroid belt of the Proxima system, Min-jae watched a hegemony battle group conduct training exercises. 12 massive ships fired their energy weapons at target drones. Look at them, his weapons officer, Lieutenant Baek So-young, said with disgust. They line up like they are on parade. They fire in volleys like it is some kind of ceremony. Min-jae nodded. That is how they have always fought. But look at their shield frequencies. So-young studied her instruments. Standard energy deflection patterns, Optimized for plasma and particle beams. Exactly, Minji said. They have never faced kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds. Their shields might as well be made of paper. As they watched, the hegemony ships finished their exercise and began moving toward the outer rim. The invasion was beginning. Minji activated his ship's quantum communicator. Earth Command, this is Sol's Ghost. Hegemony forces are on the move. Repeat, the invasion has begun. The response came quickly. Understood, Sol's Ghost, return to base immediately. It is time to show them what human weapons can really do. As the scout ship turned toward home, Minji thought about the warning his people had given at Nexus Prime. The aliens had laughed at humanity's railguns. Soon they would not be laughing anymore. The hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, like a wall of death. 300 ships spread across space in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields and their weapons charged with deadly light. Supreme Admiral Zefton stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the human colony world spinning peacefully in the distance. Soon it would belong to the hegemony. Scan for enemy ships, Zefton ordered. His tactical officer, a Lumina called Brightsword, pulsed with blue light. I detect 12 human vessels, Admiral. They appear to be frigates, very small compared to our battleships. Zefton made a sound that might have been laughter. 12 ships against 300. The humans must be either very brave or very stupid. There is also a space station orbiting their colony, Brightsword added. It looks like an old mining platform. No significant weapons detected. Perfect, Zefton said. Signal the fleet to assume standard battle formation. We will destroy their pathetic defense fleet, then demand surrender. This will be over quickly. Light years away, other hegemony forces were attacking different human colonies. The plan was simple. Hit multiple targets at once, crush all resistance, then move on to Phase 2. In the human colony on Tau Ceti, Lee Minyak watched the enemy fleet through his command center screens. As defense coordinator, he had prepared for this day, but seeing 300 warships still made his stomach tight with fear. All civilian ships have been evacuated, his assistant reported. The defense platforms are online and ready. Minyak nodded. The mining platform that the aliens had dismissed was actually packed with the most advanced railgun systems humanity had ever built. Hidden inside its simple exterior were 12 super railguns, each capable of accelerating tungsten slugs to incredible speeds. Signal Captain Seojin, Minyak ordered. Tell him he is cleared to engage. In space, Captain Bei Seojin commanded the human defense fleet from his ship, the Incheon's Pride. Around him, 11 other frigates took position. They looked tiny compared to the massive hegemony battleships approaching them. Enemy is in formation, his weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Do-hyun, reported. Range 2 million kilometers and closing. Seojin studied his tactical display. The hegemony ships were arranged in perfect lines just like in all their training videos. They expected the humans to close distance and engage in traditional energy weapon combat. They were about to learn how wrong they were. All ships, this is Incheon's Pride. Seojin broadcast to his fleet. Target the enemy flagship and surrounding vessels. Full railgun spread. Fire on my mark. The human ships turned toward the enemy fleet. Their railgun turrets rotated into position, but no energy built up around them. No glowing charges or visible power buildup. The weapons looked almost dormant. On the hegemony flagship, Admiral Zefton watched the human ships with growing confusion. What are they doing? He asked Brightsword. Why are they not charging their weapons? I detect no energy buildup, the Lumina replied. Their weapons appear to be offline. Are they surrendering already? Zefton wondered. Signal them to power down and prepare to be boarded. But the human ships kept approaching. Their strange weapons pointed at the hegemony fleet. This is Captain Seojin of the Earth Defense Force, and came a transmission. Supreme Admiral Zefton, we warned your people about our weapons at the Galactic Council. You chose not to listen. What happens next is your responsibility. Zefton activated his communication system. Human Captain, you are vastly outnumbered. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly. Seojin's reply was calm and cold. We gave you fair warning. You ignored it. All ships come fire. What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. The human railguns fired with no visible effect. No bright beams, no colorful plasma bursts, no dramatic energy displays. Just silence. But in that silence, death crossed space at 30,000 kilometers per second. Each railgun slug was small, weighing only a few kilograms. But at 3% of light speed, those few kilograms carried more kinetic energy than the largest nuclear bombs. Physics is not forgiving at relativistic speeds. The first volley hit the hegemony formation in less than a second. Admiral Zefton was still trying to understand what had happened when his flagship simply stopped existing. One moment, the Eternal Dominion was a massive battleship bristling with weapons. The next moment, it was an expanding cloud of superheated plasma and metal fragments. The railgun slug had punched through the ship's energy shields like they were not there. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid matter moving at near light speed. The kinetic impact released so much energy that the entire ship vaporized instantly. Across the hegemony formation, the same scene repeated dozens of times. Tungsten slugs tore through energy shields, armor plating, and anything else in their path. Ships that had been built to withstand the most powerful energy weapons in the galaxy were destroyed in milliseconds by simple pieces of metal moving very fast. "Impossible," screamed War Commander Thexval from his own ship. "Our shields are impenetrable." His science officer, a trembling Vorthak named Skrelock, checked his instruments with disbelief. "Commander, the projectiles are moving at approximately 30,000 kilometers per second. At that speed, the kinetic energy is— I do not care about energy calculations," Thexval shouted. "Return fire! Destroy those humans!" But as the hegemony ships tried to respond, the second volley arrived. More ships disappeared in flashes of light and expanding debris clouds. The human frigates fired again and again, their railguns cycling through targets with deadly precision. On the mining station, Lee Minyock watched through his sensors as the battle unfolded. The hegemony fleet, so proud and organized just minutes ago, was falling apart in panic. "The super railguns are locked on target," his weapons chief reported. "Shall we fire?" Minyock hesitated. The station's railguns were much larger than the ship-mounted versions. They could accelerate projectiles to 15% of light speed. At that velocity, each shot would release as much energy as a small sun. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Let the fleet handle this." He did not want to completely destroy the enemy fleet. Humanity needed survivors to spread the word about what had happened here. In space, Captain Seogen coordinated his ship's attacks with cold efficiency. His crews had trained for this day, running simulations against traditional alien tactics. "Target their command ships first," he ordered. "Then their weapon platforms. Leave some of the smaller vessels intact." The human advantage was overwhelming. While hegemony ships needed time to charge their energy weapons, railguns could fire as fast as they could load and aim. The aliens' formation tactics, perfected over centuries, meant nothing against weapons that struck at the speed of light. Within 10 minutes, over half the hegemony fleet was gone. The survivors scattered in all directions, their perfect formation shattered by weapons they could not understand. War Commander Thexval found himself in command of the remaining ships when Admiral Zefton's flagship was destroyed. His own vessel had survived only because it was at the edge of the formation. "All ships retreat," he broadcast to the fleet. "Emergency jump to hyperspace, now!" As the surviving hegemony ships fled, Captain Seogen opened a channel to broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Captain Bei Seogen of the Earth Defense Force," he announced. "To all hegemony forces and any others listening, we warned you about railguns. We told your leaders these weapons could penetrate any shield and destroy any ship. You chose not to believe us." He paused, looking at the debris field where hundreds of alien ships had been moments before. "The demonstration is over," Seogen continued. "We do not want to destroy your civilizations, but we will defend ourselves and our colonies. If you attack human worlds, you will face our railguns. There will be no mercy and no quarter." The broadcast was recorded by fleeing hegemony ships and transmitted across the galaxy within hours. Soon every major civilization would know what had happened at Tau Ceti. Back on the colony, Lee Minyock prepared his report for Earth Command. The numbers were almost unbelievable. 12 human ships and one station had destroyed over 150 enemy vessels. The remaining hegemony fleet had fled in complete disorder. "How many casualties on our side?" he asked his staff. "None, sir," came the reply. "Not a single human ship was damaged." Minyock shook his head in amazement. The aliens had been so shocked by the railgun attacks that they had barely fired back. Their energy weapons were useless at the ranges the humans had engaged from. As he wrote his report, Minyak included a note for the history books. Today, the galaxy learned that humanity's warnings should be taken seriously. The age of energy weapon dominance is over. The age of kinetic warfare has begun. Across the galaxy, alien military leaders were receiving reports from Tau Ceti with growing horror. The humans had not been boasting or lying. Their simple rock throwers had just shattered the most powerful fleet in known space. The galaxy would never be the same. The news from Tau Ceti spread across the galaxy faster than the hegemony could control it. Within days, every major civilization had received reports about the human weapons that could destroy entire fleets in minutes. On the Lumina homeworld of Bright Haven, Commander Velnara floated in her energy chamber, reviewing battle recordings from the few hegemony ships that had escaped. The images were difficult to believe. "Play it again," she commanded her aide, a younger Lumina called Swift Thought. The recording showed massive hegemony battleships simply vanishing in flashes of light. No energy beams were visible, no plasma bursts. The ships just died one after another, faster than shields could be raised or weapons could be fired. "How is this possible?" Velnara asked. "Our scientists said kinetic weapons were primitive, outdated." Swift Thought pulsed with nervous yellow light. "I have been studying the human presentations from Nexus Prime, the ones we ignored. Commander, I think we made a terrible mistake." Velnara accessed the archived data from the Galactic Council meeting. As she read the human reports, her light grew dimmer with understanding. "Relativistic kinetic impact," she whispered. "At 30,000 kilometers per second, even a small mass carries enormous energy." "More energy than our plasma lances," Swift Thought confirmed. "More than any weapon we have ever built." Velnara realized the horrible truth. The Lumina had spent thousands of years perfecting energy weapons. They had dismissed kinetic weapons as crude and simple. But the humans had taken those crude weapons and made them faster than anything the galaxy had imagined. "Contact the Council immediately," Velnara ordered. "We need an emergency session." The same scene was playing out on worlds across the galaxy. Military leaders who had laughed at human warnings were now studying those same reports with growing fear. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall was packed with delegates from every major species. But this time no one was laughing. Speaker Vexmon called for order with his metallic voice. "We are here to discuss the events at Tau Ceti. The humans, their weapons proved more effective than our experts predicted." Kim Sola sat in the human delegation area, watching alien faces show emotions she had never seen before. Fear, confusion, respect. "Honored delegates," she said when given permission to speak. "We tried to warn you about our railgun technology. We shared our data freely. We hoped the galaxy would take our concerns seriously." A Vorthak delegate stood up angrily. "You destroyed our fleet. Hundreds of ships, thousands of lives." "Your fleet attacked our colony," Kim Sola replied calmly. "We defended ourselves, just as any species would." War Commander Thexavel entered the hall, his chitinous armor still showing damage from the battle. He had been one of the few senior officers to survive Tau Ceti. "I was there," he announced to the assembled delegates. "I saw our greatest ships die like insects." The humans spoke truth at the last council meeting. "We were fools not to listen." Murmurs rippled through the hall. For a proud warrior like Thexval to admit such a thing meant the situation was truly serious. Back on Earth, General Nam Tae-hyung coordinated humanity's response to the new galactic situation. The victory at Tau Ceti had been complete, but it was only the beginning. "Intelligence reports show the hegemony is pulling back from all their planned attacks," his aide, Colonel Park Ji-hyun, reported. "But other species are mobilizing their fleets." "Defensive movements?" Nam asked. "Hard to tell, sir. Some appear defensive. Others might be preparing for their own attacks." Nam studied the star charts on his office walls. Red marks showed hegemony positions. Blue marks showed human colonies. Yellow marks showed neutral systems. "They are scared," he said finally. "Some will want to negotiate. Others will want to destroy us before we become too powerful." He activated his communicator. "Get me Admiral Park Woojin. It is time to show our full strength." In the orbital yards above Earth, humanity's true military might was finally revealed. What the galaxy had seen at Tau Ceti was nothing compared to what humanity could really build. The new super dreadnought Sol's Thunder was nearly complete. Its main railgun could accelerate projectiles to 20% of light speed. A single shot from that weapon could destroy a moon. Admiral Park Woo-jin, formerly Captain Seojin, toured the massive ship with Chief Engineer Yang So-min. She had led the team that designed humanity's most powerful weapons. How many ships like this can we build? Woo-jin asked. With current resources, maybe 20, Yang replied. But honestly, Admiral, I do not think we will need that many. Why not? Yang pointed to a tactical display showing galactic fleet movements. Look at how the alien fleets are positioned. They are all defensive formations. No one wants to be the next hegemony. She was right. Across the galaxy, military planners were redesigning their entire strategic doctrine. The age of energy weapon supremacy was over. Everyone now had to account for the possibility of facing railgun attacks. On the Vorthak homeworld, Thexval met with human diplomats for the first time since the battle. Captain Lee Hyun, who had given the original warning at Nexus Prime, sat across from the alien warrior. You came to warn us, Thexval said, his voice heavy with regret. We mocked you, called your weapons primitive. I am sorry, Hyun nodded respectfully. War Commander, we did not want to fight your people. We wanted to prevent exactly what happened at Tau Ceti. Your weapons are terrifying, Thexval admitted. But perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Something to make us all think twice about war. Dr. Yang So-min had been invited to address a gathering of alien scientists and military experts. In a presentation hall on the neutral world of Haven Station, she explained the mathematics behind railgun technology. The key is electromagnetic acceleration, she said, showing diagrams of railgun components. We use magnetic fields to push conductive projectiles through a series of accelerating rings. A Lumina scientist pulsed with curious blue light. But the power requirements must be enormous. How do you generate enough energy? Fusion reactors, Yang replied, combined with capacitor banks that store energy between shots. The technology is not actually very complex. What took time was making it work reliably at these speeds. An elderly Vorthak engineer raised one of his clawed hands. Could our ships be modified to carry these weapons? Yang considered the question carefully. Possibly. But you would need to redesign your power systems, your targeting computers, and your ship structures. Railguns create enormous recoil forces. Would humanity be willing to share this technology? The Vorthak asked. The room fell silent. Everyone wanted to know the answer to that question. That, Yang said, is a decision for our governments to make together. On Earth, the leadership was divided about technology sharing. Some wanted to keep the railgun advantage. Others believed that spreading the technology would make the galaxy more stable. President Yoon Se-hoon called a meeting of the Defense Council. Around the table sat the most important people in human space: military leaders, scientists, diplomats, and intelligence officials. The question before us is simple, President Yoon said. Do we share railgun technology with other species, or do we keep it to ourselves? General Nam spoke first. From a military standpoint, our advantage is enormous. Why would we give that up? Because keeping it might make everyone our enemy, replied Kim Sola. If we are the only ones with these weapons, every other species will see us as a threat. Admiral Woo-jin leaned forward. But if we share the technology, we lose our edge. The next war might be fought with everyone having railguns. Dr. Yang raised her hand. May I suggest a compromise? We could share defensive applications, how to build shields that might stop railgun attacks. That would help other species feel safer without giving away our weapons. Intelligence Director Han Jin-woo shook his head. Our reports show that several alien species are already trying to copy our technology. They will figure it out eventually, with or without our help. The debate continued for hours. Finally, President Yoon made the decision that would shape the future of the galaxy. We will offer limited technology sharing, he announced. Defensive systems first. Weapons technology only to species that sign formal peace treaties with Earth. It was a compromise that satisfied no one completely, but it offered a path forward. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the old power structures were crumbling. The hegemony had dissolved after their defeat. Several member species had declared independence and were seeking peace with humanity. New alliances were forming. The Lumina Collective had proposed a joint research agreement with Earth. The Vorthak Empire wanted to negotiate a mutual defense pact. Even species that had never been involved in galactic politics were now sending ambassadors to Earth. Everyone wanted to understand these humans and their devastating weapons. War Commander Thexval, now serving as a special envoy, arrived on Earth for the first time. As his shuttle descended through the atmosphere, he marveled at the planet below. "It looks so peaceful," he told his aide. "Hard to believe such terrible weapons came from such a quiet world." "Perhaps," his aide replied. "That is exactly why they were able to create them. They were not constrained by our assumptions about warfare." As diplomatic missions arrived from across the galaxy, one thing became clear. The humans had done more than win a battle at Tau Ceti. 1 year had passed since the battle at Tau Ceti, and the galaxy was transformed. The old hegemony was gone, broken apart after their devastating defeat. In its place, a new organization had formed, the Terran Galactic Cooperative Council. Admiral Park Woo-jin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unity's Dawn, watching a joint training exercise in the Centauri system. Human ships flew alongside Vorthak cruisers and Lumina energy vessels. A year ago, such cooperation would have been impossible. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his communications officer, Lieutenant Choi Mi-young, announced. Woo-jin nodded. The exercise was designed to test new combined tactics. Each species brought their own strengths. Humans had railguns, the Vorthak had powerful shields, and the Lumina could coordinate with pure thought. "Begin the simulation," Woo-jin ordered. The mixed fleet moved against holographic enemy forces. It was beautiful to watch. Human railguns provided long-range striking power, while alien energy weapons handled close combat. The different technologies worked together like instruments in an orchestra, but not everything was perfect. On the Vorthak ship Storm's Edge, Captain Klextar struggled with the new realities. His people had been warriors for thousands of years, proud of their combat traditions. Now they were junior partners in an alliance dominated by a species they had once considered primitive. "Incoming rail slug," his tactical officer announced during the exercise. "Impact in 30 seconds. Klextar watched his screens as the invisible projectile approached. His ship's new deflector shields, designed with human help, shifted to intercept the attack. The shields held, but barely. "Shields at 60%, his engineer reported. Klextar clicked his mandibles in frustration. Even their best defensive systems could only partially stop human weapons. It was a humbling reminder of who really controlled galactic security now. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council had been reorganized. Ambassador Lee Yejin, formerly Kim Sola, now held one of the most important positions in galactic politics. The human delegation had grown from a small group seeking audience to a major power block. "The proposal before us," Speaker Vexmon announced, "is to establish joint defense stations in key systems. These would be armed with both kinetic and energy weapons." The debate that followed showed how much had changed. A year ago, the Council had mocked human technology. Now they were debating how to best integrate it into galactic defenses. A delegate from the Crystal Collective raised concerns. "How do we ensure these stations will not be used against member species?" Yejin stood to respond. "Each station will have mixed crews from multiple species. No single civilization will control them. This is about collective security, not human dominance." The Lumina representative pulsed with thoughtful colors. "The humans have kept their word about technology sharing. They have provided defensive systems to all who asked. I support this proposal." The vote was close, but it passed. Soon, combined defense stations would guard the most important systems in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the research station Deep Space 7, Dr. Yang Soman worked alongside alien scientists on the next generation of weapons technology. The cooperation was sometimes difficult. Different species thought about problems in very different ways. "The power coupling is still unstable," complained Zeknol, a Vorthak engineer. "Your human designs are too aggressive. They push components past safe limits." Yang smiled patiently. She had heard this complaint many times. "That is how we achieve the performance levels. Sometimes you have to take risks to make breakthroughs. But what if the coupling fails during combat?" asked Dr. Lumara, a Lumina physicist. "The entire system could explode." "Then we build better couplings," Yang replied. "Failure teaches us how to succeed." This was the fundamental difference between human and alien engineering. Most galactic species had developed their technology slowly over thousands of years, preferring reliability over innovation. Humans pushed the boundaries, accepting failures as part of progress. The result was hybrid technology that neither side could have developed alone. Railguns powered by Lumina energy systems. Vorthak armor enhanced with human metallurgy. Defensive shields that combined the best of all three approaches. But the biggest changes were political. The old power structures had collapsed and new ones were taking their place. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together, united by their shared fear of human military technology. Former war commander Thexval, now serving as the Vorthak ambassador to Earth, often reflected on how quickly everything had changed. He walked through the gardens of the embassy district in New Geneva, thinking about the irony of his situation. A year ago, he had commanded fleets meant to conquer human space. Now he was working to build an alliance with the same species. The humans had won his respect not just through superior firepower, but through their approach to victory. They could have destroyed us completely, he told his aide as they walked. After Tau Ceti, they had every reason to seek revenge. Instead, they offered partnership. His aide, a young Vorthak diplomat named Velkara, nodded thoughtfully. It shows wisdom. Destroying enemies creates martyrs. Converting them creates allies. This wisdom was being tested across the galaxy. Some species had embraced the new order, eager to work with humanity. Others remained suspicious, biding their time and building their own weapons programs. On the world of New Harmony, Captain Lim Hana commanded the first truly integrated starship in galactic history. Her crew included humans, Vorthak, Lumina, and representatives from 6 other species. The ship itself was a marvel of combined technology. Engineering report, Hana requested from her mixed bridge crew. Lieutenant Commander Zarthek, a Vorthak, consulted his displays. All systems nominal, Captain. The hybrid power core is operating at 112% efficiency. Ensign Bright Dawn, a young Lumina, added, harmonic resonance between the energy and kinetic weapon systems is stable. Hana smiled. The different species were learning to work together, sharing their strengths and covering each other's weaknesses. It was exactly what the galaxy needed, but she also knew that not everyone was happy with these changes. Intelligence reports suggested that several fringe groups were working to develop their own kinetic weapons, hoping to challenge human dominance. Status on the Outer Rim Patrol? She asked her tactical officer. 3 systems report unusual activity, came the reply. Possible weapons testing. Hana nodded grimly. The new galaxy was more peaceful than the old one, but it was not without threats. In the deepest parts of space, isolated research stations worked on projects their governments would not officially acknowledge. On research platform Omega-7, alien scientists struggled to duplicate human railgun technology. Dr. Hex Molan, a brilliant but frustrated physicist, stared at his latest failed prototype. The humans make it look so simple, he muttered to his assistant. Perhaps that is because it is simple, the assistant suggested. Maybe we are overthinking the problem. Hex Molan clicked his mandibles in annoyance. Impossible. Accelerating matter to relativistic speeds requires precise control of electromagnetic fields. The calculations alone, but his assistant had a point. Human technology often appeared crude compared to alien equivalents, yet it worked better. Perhaps the secret was not complexity but understanding the fundamentals. Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Yoon Se-hoon met with his security advisors to discuss these developments. How concerned should we be about independent weapons programs? He asked Intelligence Director Han Jianwoo. Moderately concerned, Han replied. They will eventually succeed in building their own railguns. The physics is not secret, but they are years behind us in practical application. General Nam leaned forward. The real question is whether we should try to stop them or help them do it safely. It was a difficult decision. Preventing other species from developing kinetic weapons might preserve human advantage, but would certainly create resentment. Helping them develop the weapons safely would reduce the human edge, but might prevent accidents or proliferation to hostile groups. What does the Cooperative Council recommend? President Yoon asked. Ambassador Yejin, attending via hologram from Nexus Prime, provided the answer. Controlled technology transfer. We help allied species develop basic railgun systems while maintaining our advantage in advanced applications. It was another compromise, but one that seemed to balance security with cooperation. As the second year after Tau Ceti began, Professor Ominji published her analysis of how the galaxy had changed. Her report, titled The Kinetic Revolution, How Human Weapons Transformed Galactic Civilization became required reading in diplomatic and military academies across known space. The introduction of practical railgun technology, she wrote, did more than change military tactics. It forced every species to reconsider their assumptions about innovation, cooperation, and survival. The report detailed how the old competitive model of galactic civilization had given way to something new. Species could no longer afford to dismiss the ideas of younger races. Innovation could come from anywhere, and those who ignored it did so at their own peril. Captain Jung Mirai, one of humanity's youngest fleet commanders, embodied this new philosophy. Her ship, the Soul's Promise, patrolled the outer rim with a crew representing 15 different species.